key member, Mr. Wajahat. He is the CEO of GRC Learning and Startup Co-works. He is also Business Development Manager for Beginning Solutions, and he is the board member for Real-Line Ventures, which is the venture firm. Just a little bit of introduction of the Startup Co-works on their behalf. They are also going to meet you physically. I suppose all of you are actually with him right now. Startup Co-works is basically in the heart of Startup Co-works. The idea is to provide the co-working spaces, but then they have a complete ecosystem which revolves around mentoring, incubation, and also aligning with the entrepreneurial activities. They also support and complement research and development as well. They are partners with the PITB, NAVTAC, and certain other organizations which are promoting the ecosystem within Pakistan for the entrepreneurship. I suppose I missed a lot of things, such as their partnerships with the academia, mostly with the University of Wajahat, as well as with certain universities in Karachi and Lahore. They represent a complete ecosystem. I should not say the complete ecosystem, but I believe it's most of the ecosystem. I guess there is a disturbance because of a WhatsApp session. Just going to do that thing for you. Yeah. So the key pillars of this ecosystem revolves around a venture firm which provides the brokerage for services for the startups like you, to position them in front of net high worth individuals, angel investors, as well as venture firms. They also have their cybersecurity related activities supported by the learning and especially e-learning and the certification and accreditation with the brand name of GRC Learning. DevSultans is the development and supporting arm which helps them in doing venture studio efforts. This is a basic look of their representation. One of the key prominent startups which they have incubated are related to co-working space marketplace, Share Bazaar sort of a portal which helps digital assets to be sold, primarily Pakistani digital assets, and then they have accreditation and certification related platform which supports the ecosystem. This is my humble introduction. I'm just going to quickly introduce my background. Overall, I have 22 years experience. I've been executive MBA from SP Jain. My specialization is in entrepreneurship. I'm also a trainer for certain management courses and management certifications, primarily focusing on technology related. My industry background gives me opportunity to focus on financial sector as well as capital markets. I worked with the Saudi Stock Exchange, which is called Tadawul, for like more than 11 years. I worked with banks like HSBC and STC Bank, which is one of the first digital banks in the area, one of the largest digital banks in the world as well. I work with a lot of startups to give them advisory services, mostly in payment tech, as well as the system integrators and certain Saudi family-driven businesses within Saudi as well. I worked for more than 6 years in Dubai before coming to Saudi. I have a diversified GCC experience, you can say so. Help certain companies to launch themselves in GCC, primarily with Australian firms. A bit of my relevance with you, I should not say achievements. So there was a time when I was also like you, while I was in JBC, Judge Business School in Cambridge. I joined Ignite program over there. It's one of the early Ignites in the world, I should say. Not the one which is over here. I believe we missed the the slide, right? I guess there is we lost the slide, right? Yeah, am I audible? Miss Lou? Okay, thank you. I believe my screen got disappeared. Just give me a moment and I'm going to share it, okay? Can you see my screen, right?
Yes, right.
Sure. So I'm just going to close my introduction. So this gave me an ample opportunity to collaborate and merge my experiences of the industry as a student of entrepreneurship, as a person who has actually pitched by himself and helped startups coming into the industry, and then also providing advisory services. So I fairly claim that I have touched a significant area of the life cycle from birth to death, you can say so, which is the merging into the capital markets. So I have seen companies doing the IPOs. I was part of the largest IPO and initial public offering happened in the world, Aramco. I was part of that team. I was regarded and recognized over there because of my efforts and contributions. Now we move to the basic introduction of our topic, which is how to secure your innovation. A little bit background about why you actually should secure your intellectual property and your innovations. Right now, even as of this very moment when we are talking, you may be surprised that 30% of world's cloud, which is solely relying on Microsoft and its partners such as CrowdStrike, is having serious disruptions. And this is going to impact billions of dollars of market at this very moment. So there is no better day to emphasize on this subject than today. Okay? Every forum where you're going to see, every news where you're accessible, you will see this issue of CrowdStrike identity crisis and breach, which is impacting Microsoft Cloud. And it will not stop over here, it will be prolonged to all across. And CrowdStrike is one of the most respected and renowned names when it comes to their services. So if they get breached, chances are they are following the same pattern for other vendors like them. Okay? Global outages, which are now becoming very common. So why it is relevant to you? Because I presume eventually you are a product which is stopping the startups on top of it, right? And this product, in the core and the heart of this product is the technology. Sometimes you have taken engineering background, sometimes you have taken the software life cycle. So in all cases, cybersecurity, information security, and impact of breach of intellectual property going to impact you. Outage is one of the key issues whenever you are going to bring your startup into the real production environment, or you can call it a go live or a service. So in the heart of all technology companies, service or the service management or the service culture is the most important thing as part of your consistent life cycle. So every service is going to get facing such as incidents, problems, changes, releases, and then the issues with the knowledge bases. So we assume that life cycle is very soon going to be your day-to-day issues, right? We are really seeing global outages, even Sky News, 911, Microsoft Services, Exchange, and even government level, and all those aspects or entities are facing these outages because of the security breaches or intellectual property theft. Now, ironically, Pakistan is no exception, and unfortunately, one of the biggest names or TPS in our technology services, which is actually the backbone of our financial infrastructure, digital financial infrastructure in Pakistan nowadays, just got breached this month. So I'm not giving you any example of 19th century or 20th century. I'm just giving you what is happening at this very moment or this week or this month. Okay? History is a history, but this is seriously impacting us. TPS, all data has been breached, and it is available on .NET for just $27. Okay? It's a very small amount compared to the value they are providing, compared to the impact we are going to face because of their data breach. And data is a new oil, as you know very well, right? And information and the data is a new oil. That means that every company, every startup, the future of every startup is to be a data company. And if your data is not protected, that means you are not going to get the revenues, you are not going to be able to retain your customers, and the reputational loss will bring you as well as your organization to the bankruptcy level, right? So whether you are a solo founder, whether you are a listed company, whether you are just a startup with co-partners, everybody has the chance to get impacted. Okay? So now there is another example. I'm not going to emphasize much on the subject because now I assume that you have already got the sensitivity and the granularity of the situation. Okay? Now you may assume and you may say that we just barely got inducted into this cohort and we are planning to launch ourselves, and this gentleman with white hair on his beard has started scaring us, and we haven't started our career, and the guy is just telling us something which will happen after 3, 4, 5 years or maybe 2 years and all that, right? Just say yes or no if you feel or think like this. Can I say that you people have got a little bit understanding of the gravity of the situation? Okay. Now I'm going to emphasize on certain other aspects which are really going to impact you in an immediate future or maybe currently, which is the intellectual property side of the equation. In technology sector, intellectual property and the impact or the value or the cost of breach of intellectual property is immense. So we have significantly seen that the co-founders and the founders usually do not take into consideration when they are actually creating their intellectual property, or when they are making a business plan. They really do not actually take into consideration the immense potential and the value which an intellectual property can bring on the table, whether they are going to bring some investments or whether they are going to position themselves in front of other customers and all that. So, and that has a direct business impact. That has a serious vertical positioning within your implementation strategy. Intellectual property has a direct impact on your overall policy making of your startup or the company. It has a direct impact because of the legal compliance issues. Okay, and don't tell me that you don't know how legal is important in your life from this day onwards. Okay, every aspect which you are going to do has a tremendous impact from legal standpoint. Whatever technology you are going to bring into the world, whatever startup you are going to bring into the world. Okay, monitoring mechanisms have a direct impact because of the intellectual property as well as the industry influences there. Okay? A little bit of a SWOT analysis which has been positioned because of the impacts on innovation and the economic environments. So there is a direct protection of innovation and economic incentives provided across the globe by G20 countries, G8 countries, and developed countries, underdevelopment countries, and emerging markets. So the respect of IP is now being there for all the UN-based countries. So they are bound with the UN Charter. Okay, and it has a fair standing over there that if an IP is being produced or protected by a country, it will have international implications and consequences. So chances are, if you produce something in Pakistan, it may have a repercussion the lawsuit filed in UK or US that there is a copyright infringement and then there is a IP theft happening in Pakistan related to us, just because that Pakistani company did not consider that they are on the name of doing innovation, they are doing nothing but a copy paste. So this is serious issue because now when almost all type of source code is available on the GitHub and we are just trying to download those softwares and the source codes from any open source community and label it and rebrand it and package it and present it as of our own source code. I have seen so many founders who have done this practice, sold their startup, and at the very last moment, when it went to the legal review, they really got into this trouble that they were given, they call it embezzlement or fraud. And this is the real dark side of not taking good care of your own innovation rather than just ensuring that it is just a workable code or workable prototype, but not taking care of the intellectual property breaches or infringements. There is a high cost involved with it, and then there is a complication and complexity also involved in it. Right? But eventually, global IP brings a global harmony, and technological advancements are happening because of the production of the IP or IP policies. Luckily, Pakistan has its own IP office. It's been in place and in production since I believe 24 or 22 years. So we have a fairly good history now. It's in Karachi. You will find little less response from them, but they do exist. Okay, and there's been quite active communication going on. Being a Pakistani startup does not mean you should only register your intellectual properties of all types within Pakistan. You can also have it registered in many countries, mostly developed countries, which has a tremendous different impact on your valuation of the company or a startup. So you may be actually surprised to say that I have not actually got a single MVP in the market, and the gentleman is talking about the valuation or the value for the company. Yes, this is the only thing which can actually make you get recognized before you bring even a single customer. Okay, this is one of those key things which a lot of founders actually do not give full potential of the value. Okay? Geographical tools to analyze the IP policies. I highly recommend you to use certain tools. Since it's a little bit of a workshop, I will request my team to share with you a lot of global resources available to not only protect your IP, but to also gauge your value, how potential value that can bring. Another service which Startup Coworks brings on the table is that they also help you in evaluating your company as well as your intellectual property. So you can also consult them. Okay. The tough thing starts now. We have already got understanding the importance of information security and cyber security from the impact perspective. We have also got a little bit of overview of what value and intellectual property has and how can we leverage the value out of it. But then we will say, you know what, I'm not a businessman, I'm not a startup even as of now, I'm just a humble software developer or an engineer who has started doing the development. So why should I care right now? Okay? Can I say, is this a fair question to ask from your side? Somebody is going to ask me this question or not? It's an interactive workshop, so please feel free to even stop me anywhere if you are going to ask certain questions, okay? So just tell me if we are good to go on this subject or not. Are you good? So thanks Qasim, Alim, Hamad. I'm glad that you found it fairly interesting and relevant. So you all know the software development lifecycle, right? And in the software development lifecycle, the most important thing is your traditional life cycle about the planning and the designing, and then you have your development and certain other aspects, right? So I assume you are going with the flow for your phase of software development, but there is a catch. Security goes side by side. It is integrated in each single stage of this life cycle, and now you can blend it as a secure software development life cycle. There is a new term point which is called DevOps or DevSecOps. So this DevSecOps brings the development cycle and the operation cycle harmonized with the security, which is very important and vital. Okay? So now I'm going to make sure that we catch a very important stage during the planning. A lot of startups actually miss this important concept on the name of agility or agile development. They undervalue the importance of planning. During the planning phase, they traditionally skip the security requirement. Now, why do we need to emphasize on security requirement? Because it is exactly like a building. You see there is a foundation in the building. If you have a wrong foundation, guess what will happen? You will have a wrong whole structure of the building, right? Now, in order to ensure that you have a secure service, secure product, secure innovation, you have to bring the requirements of security right at the planning stage. And there are too many requirements you can always emphasize, whether it is the privacy aspect, the confidentiality aspect, the integrity aspect, availability aspect, non-repudiation, and then there are certain aspects you need to take good care of it, right? One of the key things we introduce as part of security requirements to emphasize in the design stage is called the threat modeling. So if you have not done your threat analysis, chances are you will skip that at the design stage. So imagine you are developing a building, and that building design is missing that basic fundamental security requirement. So eventually, let's assume you are going to have one door or two door, and with a strong door or not. So these all requirements and aspects are supposed to be analyzed at that stage. Otherwise, during the development, you usually skip them. Few benefits we can achieve from combining the DevSecOps and secure software development lifecycle is that it increases the resilience towards the cyber threats, as we have already discussed. Cyber threats are usually exploited through the vulnerabilities. We've taken an example of GitHub. If you go to open source, if you are even developing your own area, chances are you are prone to introduce certain known vulnerabilities, because ultimately you are relying on certain tools, right? So these tools have some inherent vulnerabilities as well, which are easy to be exploited, and if during the life cycle you are not actually going to consider them as part of your security delivery cycles, chances are these vulnerabilities will be packaged in the releases, and these releases will be tested as a functional testing or a performance testing, but not from the in-code review. Source code review may not have been done at that stage, and we skip that important stage and we bring the source code or software into a service lifecycle or in a production environment or in operations. So once it is in operations, only a hacking incident or a threat or a breach will tell us that, oh, we have missed this very vital vulnerability within our package. Okay? There is something called zero-day attacks, which are often because of the last day known vulnerabilities. So that's how important and vital it is to keep your overall software lifecycle integrated with secure software development, whether it is following the DevSecOps opportunity or the secure software development lifecycle. We also need to ensure to use our code quality tools, automated security testing tools. They are not going to reduce your faster time to market, because one of the key allegations on cybersecurity and the security testing was that they take too much time in testing, and then the time to market, because there are deadlines in every product to be launched, right? So those impacts or delays because of security review, and then they find some vulnerabilities, you take another iteration or another round or another release to close those vulnerabilities, bring obviously some delay. So this delay will bring the competition or competitor faster in the market than you. But I rest you assured, in the long run, in the mid run, or even in a short run, all three aspects, those who invest more in security before going live are in a much safer way. I showed you certain examples of security breaches, and I told you that once a breach is announced, 98%, 95 to 98% companies close their business and they declare the bankruptcy. Or they get so much penalty that they are not even able to make a profit for next 5 years. So this is why it is important that you need to plan and test before you go live, or before you actually bring your product. Tell me any big name in Pakistan which has recently made a mark, you name it Daraz, you name it Baikia, all of them had, even the banks, all of them had a serious breaches. Even the certain days where Mizan had this breach as well, and it's becoming very new normal. They say there are only two types of companies in the world: those who are breached and those who will be breached. right? So that's the issue we are addressing as of today. And why it happens? Because of lack of security expertise, resistance to the change, integration complexity, wrong designs, lack of collaboration, and lack of continuous security monitoring, lack of innovation or from the security perspective, but then the increased push towards the innovation as well. Okay, so one of the key things is to keep yourself updated towards the compliance violations or to see the data breaches happening in the market related to you or overall. There are always resource constraints, but I always say if there is a will, there is a way. So if you are going to make sure that you need to have a solid product, then you will find some alternatives. You don't need to bring all the resources on your table. Be open in collaboration and you will find some cheap, cost-effective and smart possibility of collaboration and partnerships who can get your issues fixed. There are certain best practices which are highly recommended. One of them is continuous training of your developers. Developers are in the heart of this whole serious issue, right? The whole thing starts from them. I don't blame them because it is our job to ensure they have fitness for purpose and fitness for use, right? So this is a quality thing which says if you are going to bring something, you have a purpose and you have a intended use, right? So both things, your purpose and use should be crystal clear towards your developer and they should also understand. Then there will be security training you can introduce. Regular security audits is a great way to overcome, and then incorporating automated security testing tools. Nowadays there are a bundle of penalty automated tools available. Some are free, some are costly, but yet accessible to you on SaaS based. So and above all, humans are the weakest link. If we have a human intelligentsia higher than our processes and technology, we can always foster that culture of security within our startup or even our incubation center. Right now, this effort that we are doing, this by itself is going to uplift your culture of security over there, right? Yes or no? Can I say that this makes sense? Yes, sir. Sure. Sure. Okay. Now, as we discussed, there are certain ways to overcome this aspect. So we have the development environment and we have the operations environment, where the production and all aspects are there. So security comes in between. So it's a borderline thing. It's in the heart of both areas, development and operations. So, but how we introduce it? Certain best practices, we have already discussed certain aspects, but then you have a DevSecOps methodology as well, which says to have a continuous security integration. DevOps focuses on CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous development. So when you have a serious pipeline going on of releases, every month, every 2 weeks you have a new release of a software or a product or an engineering innovation, and it's a very time sensitive model you are following, then you must do security on in those releases as well, right? So you don't need to wait that, okay, you know what, after 3 months there will be a phase where we will celebrate the security day and then we will introduce the security. No, this is not going to work. That day is good enough, but you need to align it on daily basis. Day and whatever you compile, whatever you do, you think from security aspect as well. That's the first thing a developer can contribute, right? So as we say, security is the responsibility of everybody. So in that, the developer is the first one to start. But guess what? Developer is not the first one. There was an architect before it. There was a planner before it. There was a business case developer before it. There was a portfolio manager before it, right? All of them have something to contribute. So it's a waterfall model. You need to ensure for security as well. So the moment it comes as an idea in your mind, that, hey, you know what, I'm going to launch this e-commerce platform, I'm going to launch this marketplace. You bring actually threats into your mind. Okay, what are the threats? So that's called the threat modeling. Similarly, we have automated security measures. You can easily incorporate the collaboration of security culture and then shifting the security left. So what is the security left? It is the concerns and the practices earlier the software development addressed the vulnerabilities on proactivity basis, right? So proactiveness is in the heart of this thing. Eventually we try to create a pipeline for the DevSecOps based on each stage. So let's cherry pick a stage. You have a coding stage, you have a development stage, you have a testing stage, you have a release stage, you have a deployment stage, you have the operation stage. All these stages have security of that particular stage. Coding has its own best practices, testing has its own security test cases. During the development, we have automated security tools to be incorporated. We have release, which has the security assessment as a second party or a third party, maybe from security expert. We have deployment, where we have deployment engineers. We also are trained security expert, all aware. And then your operations team, we are always seeing it from security aspect as well. So the whole life cycle, which is called the pipeline, must have contribution from all stages. Certain components we were discussing, we have automated security testing. Now whether it is based on the tools or whether it is scripts, you need to introduce it in your coding technologies. And then there is Azure, Microsoft Azure, and all those GitHub-based and Jira-based, Atlassian-based tools. At the very same time, you have certain other engineering tools as well. Introduce the continuous integration and continuous deployment. So in the integration, one of the serious issues is about the performance. Now we introduced the volumetric tests, we introduced the certain other performance tests based on the benchmarkings. Mostly nowadays the apps are down because there is too many connections. Actually those connections are not legitimate. They came from a security threat called DOS attack. So this DOS attack is a denial of service attack. So denial of service happens when you actually bombard the concurrent sections, let's say 20 million, 30 million concurrent sections on a server which has a capacity of a few thousands. So you need to introduce those aspects at this very stage, right? Why we need to do, I don't know if I was able to, I probably missed or skipped this slide to introduce and incorporate. Can you see this top 10 fraud experiences by merchants? Can you see this slide?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Now, if you see, these are few of the examples of typical frauds happen with a merchant. I don't know which type of startup ideas you people are working on, but chances are at least 20% are going to have ideas which will involve the buyer and seller concept, right? Do you have something like this? Okay, I assume you have. So this is one of the examples that on the name of fraud, half of threats are actually because of our weak security controls implementation. You can see the phishing, phoning and whaling attack. Phishing is one of the most common end-user attacks, which is related to the humans, which is related to the merchants and the buyers. So our lack of awareness practices towards our consumers and the buyers and the merchants or the users brings a very, very normal attack into a very big targeted attack. Okay? And whaling is relevant to the concept of targeting the high net profile individuals such as CEOs, the chiefs and all that. You can see identity theft, you see account takeover, very common issue. And it is the start of the attack and then it can lead to the fraud and certain other aspects. Nowadays there is a money laundering and then you have loyalty frauds and all those coupon and discount frauds, refunding abuses, all types type of frauds are happening. So the one stance which I want you to take is when you are creating a journey of your development as well as your go-to-market strategy, when you think from security, think from the reverse, we call it a user journey, right? So when you have a end user journey, also consider these threats that at this particular stage of a user, these are the possible threats as well. What controls, what features should we invent or introduce? Just giving a business process to a user does not help him at all. The very thing you are going to have is to be, customer will not come to you. A low maturity security product will not be in the market. Forget about penalties, forget about certain regulations of the government. Even if you are not actually having these aspects in your product life, still the consumer gives a value, feels secure. Yes or no? A person who feels secure will always be closer to you. This is why it is very important to do your threat analysis. Yeah, there are certain challenges when we implement these practices such as DevSecOps. One of the challenges which I really want to emphasize is your regulatory advantages or disadvantages. If you do not follow regulation, you know what is regulation? Let's say when you bring a product through your telecom, so you may have a direct telecom regulation implemented over you. We in Pakistan, we have now our own IT policy, our own information security policy of the country, the national level, and then there are certain data privacy laws are coming. If you are bringing a financial product like a fintech product, you have state banks regulations. If you have maybe IoT-based product, you will have TAPRA and certain other NAPRA's regulations. So it depends on the vertical or the industry you are working. You may have your ministry relevant to you who are definitely going to have a formal guideline and practices about cybersecurity and information security as well as other aspects for you, right? So it is very vital for you to think which industry you are going to serve and what are the requirements and complications over there. Certain benefits based on the traditional DevOps strategy and other aspects is that it has a tremendous integration possibility with the typical SDLC lifecycle. Okay? And it helps you in being proactive from the risk mitigation perspective and the risk analysis. So analyzing the risk from the threat and vulnerability perspective is very important and vital. So whether it is enterprise risk management or cybersecurity risk management. So today's startup is tomorrow's business, right? So eventually you are actually going to help creating some businesses or you by yourself will be a business. So once you plan, so enterprise risk management becomes very vital for you. One of the key aspects we always emphasize is to keep monitoring and visualizing your security matrix and your levels. How many number of security checks you have introduced, and out of them, how many have better response to incidents, whether there are manual checks, or how many vulnerabilities you have closed. So these aspects are very vital. I highly encourage the incubation center that when they close the cohort, when we actually introduce the startup in front of the investors or on the pitch day, one of the tag or the seal you can bring on the startup is that their product is being verified by individuals, internally assessed by you or third party. An amazing value contribution, because those investors will eventually become more relevant to you. They immediately will catch them because they all are experienced, they have seen these issues. You may not be experienced that much in the market, they know the threats which you don't know. They are not just there to make money for you, from you, right? They are also there to save their necks as well, right? If there is an incident, they are also part of this ship. You know, the serious issue with the security is it makes the most high individual in the latter case as a accountable person. People like a CEO, COO, CFOs, founders, they are considered as accountable. This is the most important elements to build the cybersecurity and the intellectual property. Another framework, a very important framework which is very much available for you as a security practitioner. Now you have seen from inside out life cycle as a developer, as a planner, as an architect, as a deployment engineer, as a operator, as a guy who's going to maintain the infrastructure, right, or a network security. But guess what? You need to also come from outside in view. What is outside in view? That is security expert, how he sees you, right? I hope you got this appreciation that it is important that you are not the whole universe. There are people who actually also know how you look like. So one of the views or the binoculars they use is the SAPSA. SAPSA is a security architecture for the business. They try to introduce the security controls so that your product is very much security aligned. During their strategy as a business strategy, SAPSA introduces its strategy requirements as a planning. SAPSA also integrates at the designing stage. SAPSA also implements controls at the implementation and managing and measuring stage. So this is a life cycle. Okay. In this life cycle, now it is mapped with your software development life cycle as well. Very similar. Now, another very important aspect which you have seen up to now from security perspective, but now you are going to see from the government or maybe the most top-notch authorities who are going to ensure the compliance and the risk and the governance aspect of your startup or your product or your innovation or your intellectual property. So what they introduce is called the governance, risk and compliance. Okay? Now governance is about monitoring. How you monitor your startup, how you monitor your IP, how you monitor your how you review your innovation as well. Then how important you see the risk analysis or the risk perspective, which is called the risk management. So risk has its own complete framework. But then there is the compliance. Compliance is different than risk and governance. Compliance is kind of a checklist given by the authorities, regulators, that you know what, whatever you are going to produce, it must comply with these standards. It must comply with these guidelines. It must comply with this circular. So I presume you people are from multiple verticals, and there is a 80% chance that whole GRC is applicable on you. And all these have different policies, different processes, different procedures to be complied and fulfilled. Okay? There are dedicated GRC tools which you need to respect and take care. There are certain steps we try to follow when it comes to GRC implementation. Now bear in mind, security frameworks, development frameworks were different than the GRC. Okay? So please do not think that, you know, I studied the security architecture, which is SAPSA, I introduced it, and my responsibilities are complete. Now the GRC has its own value. Okay? So one of the things which we do in GRC framework implementation is introducing the GRC strategies, which is very aligned with the comprehensive planning for the governance, risk and compliance objective for the organizational goal. In your case, it will be startup goals. Okay? The key aspect, the focus is on the human side, often the employees. The responsibilities are educated within their JDs, within their working procedures, and within their work culture as well. Regular assessments based on procedures, policies and guidelines and controls are introduced. So if you are going to bring any product for any institution, such as banking institution, or you're going to produce next data. Now, as I told you before, the data is a new oil, so it has a tremendous potential and value. Or if you are going to introduce a lot of new information, then GRC is very vital tool for you to follow. There are future trends in the GRC. If I suppose there is no single startup nowadays which is not worried about the AI impact, and all the AI, deep learning, machine learning, and neural network impacts have relevance to GRC from ethics perspective, from privacy breach perspective. So on one side we introduce the data, and the other side we have the challenges of the AI. This will be overcome through GRC as well. So future trends of the GRC has a direct relevance with the blockchain technologies, with what cybersecurity measures we are going to take, with what data privacy regulation we are going to follow, and the integration with the AI. Okay? I assume many of you are totally relying on the cloud technologies to host and keep your code, or maybe the whole system. The cloud has a direct relevance and impact on the data and AI and the GRC. Please do not get scared, do not get worried. These are just few of the frameworks for security. That's how complicated this subject is. Okay, now I discussed with you the industries, right? I assume you have a startup who's going to serve a particular industry, or maybe it is so general that it is going to impact a lot of industries. Yes or no? Right? But guess what? Then there is a geographical impact, and then there is a digital world as well. Now you move to another zone, or a region, or a country, or a continent, you have a whole different sort of cybersecurity framework complications to follow. Pakistan has its own, Saudi has at least 8 to 9 standards to follow. Then there are general standards, and then there are country-specific standards, right? And then there are industry-specific standards. So you may have this dilemma to serve all three. I'm going to repeat it. Continent related or the country related standards, and then you have industry related standards, and then you have your own regulations of your zone or area as well, depending on the subject. So few examples I really want you to follow or study are ISO 27001, which is ISO standard, which is very general in written. If you try to follow that one, chances are 80% of these rest of the standards will be followed. But the outcome is very important. So nowadays the UK has introduced something called Cyber Essentials, but it is just for UK. Then we have a payment related or the financial related sector, where if you introduce any payment card, I mean if you are on the web and you are going to introduce the payment, chances are PCI DSS is the keys framework to follow. Okay? So I leave it to you which one refer. And if you have implemented your whole startup in the cloud, so CCM is very relevant framework for you to also consider. These are the few of, I will just skip this one. Now, just to give you a little emphasis, by the way, this is a little old slide. Now we have 4.0 version of Cloud Security Alliance guidance. So there are more emphasis on the privacy side of and the data and the intellectual property and the interoperability. Okay, but it's a great framework to be followed from Cloud Security Alliance.org. If you have a direct usage of cloud, I hardly see any vertical or startups of the future who are not using the best technologies of the cloud. Okay. Now you have already seen from inside out as a developer, you have seen outside in view, but then there is a product view. Eventually, a startup is totally or fully relying on a product, right? So you have another view to see. If you are going to make a plan, either it will be a project plan or either it will be a product plan, right? So these projects and products will bundle to become a service. So service will have its own plan, right? So at each stage of the product, these are very relevant checks and balances and testing ideas for you to validate your product. This is another way to see the all-round aspect. I don't want to just be a line reader right now, but this PPT will be available for you to read and consult and consider. Lot of checks you can easily adopt. Okay. Before I move to the next slide, I really want to ask you if you have any question. Feel free to ask, and I'm here to answer you. I really appreciate if you interact with us at this very moment. But I have a dedicated question answer session at the end of the presentation as well, which is about to get closed. Okay, so whatever you prefer, we are going to move. I assume that you would like to let me finish this present. Okay? Okay. So now you have already covered the aspect of cybersecurity as well as the GRC, the requirements of your startup idea from product validation perspective. You have also seen the importance of breaches and covering them. You have also seen the intellectual property related aspects. One thing is very critical here. There is something called time to market. Once you have launched your product, there is a customer feedback. You are living customers. You are bound to comply with the requirements, and it's a never-ending loop. So you are going to release your roadmap of your product, of your service, as well as your offerings to the customer. So that means that you are in a continuous push to have new requirements, bundle them as a package, and introduce into the market, right? So whatever commitment you give, there is a dedicated source control. You trigger that one. You have complete CI life cycle to follow. You package that CI, and then you introduce as a CD, which is the delivery side. And then stage of the production environment comes. You learn from the mistakes which you introduce in the production version. You compare it with the previous, and again you bring it to the source control. So in both life cycles, in the CI, you build your release, you test that release, you audit that release, you document it, and then you publish it, right? And then you package it. Packaging is a very complex stage where you have to learn a lot from integration perspective, and then you try to introduce it in a life cycle called continuous delivery. This packaged version needs to be deployed somewhere, needs to synchronize somewhere, and need to provision based on the requirements and understanding of that environment. So then a stage comes which is called the pre-production environment. So what we are doing right now is CD, is called production-like environment, or maybe the test environment, right? So these environments into the production, the whole life cycle of the software has security involvement in each step. Build, test, audit, document, publishing, all of them needs to ensure the security requirements at their particular stage. So security integration and all the controls which we introduce in the beginning, all the frameworks which we introduce in the beginning, all the best practices which we have discussed before, okay? All the product validation checks which we have discussed before. Okay. So with this, I really want to take a pause, and I want to thank that you have very patiently listened to me and given me opportunity to share with you this thought process. Now I am open for all the question and answers, and really look forward to discuss further. Yeah, is there any issue with the mic? Anybody?
Thank you, Mr. Wajahat, for such a valuable and knowledgeable session. It's really great. And definitely we will get more insights. The presentation, as you told, we will share after the event.
Yeah. I also want to learn more about the key startups you are doing. We can discuss real-time scenarios. It's trying to be a workshop rather than just a presentation. So if you can tell me a little bit about your ideas which you are working on, chances are I'm going to be more valuable. Just a couple of you, if you can please. Well, Amar, thank you so much. It's a great question. First of all, you picked the right word called businesses rather than a startup. So the most important thing is you need to understand that today's startup will bring a lot of businesses in the market, or they will be a business by themselves. There will be difference. Startup often is not considered as a business because business is very much profit focused. Business is very much going to be compliant with the business strategies. So the first thing comes first. If it is a business, it will have a business strategy. IP must align with the business strategy, business vision, and business plan. One of the key issues with businesses is that they target to become a billion-dollar business, but they do not value the IP appreciation. So first step is where you are going to patent yourself. That has a direct impact on your business valuation by itself. You register your trademarks in Singapore, you are directly going to get 10x of your IP value. You are going to launch it from America, you have your own business strategy. So the IP valuation and the business launch, which is directly proportional to the business strategy, has a direct connection. Okay? There is a sort of a mindset in Pakistan that we need to launch from US and then we need to also register ourselves as a IP in US. Now, ironically, there are some demerits of this approach in certain verticals. That's why if you can find me certain industries you are working on, I can tell you there are some emerging zones in the world who give you tremendous ease and comfort. For example, if you're going to launch a payment technology, Eastern Europe is an amazing place to easily launch. But since they are in Europe, they have a so strict and rigid strategy about intellectual property. They always make so complex IP regulations as well as other regulations that it becomes very hard for us to be over there. So chances are you will get more value if you register yourself as a IP holding startup, as a headquarter in US, but you launch yourself in Eastern Europe as a fintech company, as a payment tech company. Let's assume you are an IoT-based solution provider, right? So, and you are highly relying on the data. So, the data is going to contribute a significant share in your valuation. Now, the data communication and data privacy issues in 20 countries are totally different. I give you an example of Saudi. In Saudi we have PDPL law, which is called the personal data law. Okay. Now I registered my IP along with the information as a business model in Saudi. I launched it for Saudi companies as a Saudi company, so I need to take care of that PDPL law. Even if I am a foreign company with its second branch office in Saudi, I need to take care of this PDPL law. And what does it has a difference or a significance than other countries? They have additional thing called tribal information. which is very unique in the world. No country says that, okay, a tribal background information of an individual is his personal data. Okay? Similarly, their travel history is in one of the 22 personal records which they consider that you cannot maintain the travel history outside Saudi. Now imagine you have a cloud service in America and you are serving in Saudi with the data produced in Saudi but stored in America. Now which country law you are going to follow as an intellectual property? You are in America because you want more valuation, but you have a serious complication of a data rewriting issues in Saudi. And that is where the serious breach comes. So you will be penalized by Saudi law as an American company. Now this is a serious complication. So one of the key mistakes actually, answer to your question is that where you want to launch yourself or your product and how you want to launch and what sort of a compliance requirement you are going to ensure, right? Intellectual property, now another serious issue is about the source code repositories to be maintained, right? We call it escrow agreements, right? Now one of the, amazing example, blockchain is going to be a serious issue right now for us because of the ease and because of the cheap labor and certain use of laws we launch from there, but there are no international intercontinental laws which can protect this launch for you, right? Your target market is in Saudi and you are totally relying on Belarus and Bosnia-based laws to serve you. This is going to be a serious nightmare. I give you a real life example I'm working on right now. There is a payment service provider I'm supporting which has something called 3DS secure protocol, right? This 3DS secure is one of the now requirements of Saudi payments to be served through Saudi-based servers, right? Which is nothing but a OTP message and authentication by Visa and MasterCard. Now there is no more permission for us to serve through outside country, right? So these are sort of real life examples you need to also consider. 5G has a serious complication now coming in your IP. A lot of blockchain is totally dependent on 5G and those technologies, and they do not have a crystal clear IP approaches as of now. Okay? I take Aleen's question, which is about trademarks internationally. Now, trademarks is just one of the IP requirements. I will extend it further. It is a trademark, and it is your rest of the intellectual property, such as your source code, also requires some sort of a hosting somewhere, and it can also act as an intellectual property. Now in UK, if it is related to medical, tremendous potential of valuation, higher valuation, if you launch it from Cambridge. Cambridge has something called Cambridge cluster. You have 36,000 companies over there. So this cluster is second to Silicon Valley cluster, but only for healthcare and medical. Amazing value and ecosystem you are going to get over there. I highly recommend to go over there. And it's not that complicated. You can get a support for that one as well. Similarly, now the world is so split across that depend on the vertical, depend on the industry, you should choose your cluster. Malaysia, for instance, and Korea, they are giving so advanced valuation as well as protection of IP in certain aspects. For example, Islamic products, Malaysia has a complete ecosystem over there. It is a great brand to be launched from there. Okay. Similarly, if you have an IoT product, South Korea is an amazing country to launch, right? Singapore is also another. Okay, let's take an example of marketplaces recently. For the IP related to marketplaces, I was part of This Cambridge launched in 2017, and they said no more marketplaces to be pitched over here. It was a crystal clear stoppage at that time, right? So it means that developed countries does not have this courage to be launched from there. So for you need to see your target audience, right? So we have seen Germany-based marketplaces launched in Saudi and Pakistan. We have seen tremendous valuation from there. So IP has a direct relevance to them as well, right? So even in the marketplaces, if it is e-commerce marketplace or if it is, I recently got a human resource marketplace ideas from certain places. So they were amazingly launched from West Europe. I was supposed to launch certain startups from Nigeria, because it's not about being an IP, it is about the data as well. So IP is a combination of your trademarks and patents. Patent-wise, I see a great value if you launch it from UK, not as a startup, as a patent only. Patent registered in UK, patent registered in US, okay? And then you have a route to take. For example, all the founders try to register directly at their name. I highly recommend them to engage academia in it. Before they launch, there are research papers. You co-author with them. Use your top 3, top 5 universities, academia from Pakistan or even international. And so it's kind of a state-by-state dating you are doing with them. And then you can actually go towards a better place, right? IEEE journals are a tremendous place to actually gauge and value the future of your patent, right? What about IP requirements for manufacturing? Post. Yeah, these are two stages in recycling, especially in the plastic. Okay, first let's take the recycling as part of ESG. As you know, this is the very important now part of sustainable goals for UN. Increasing value. There are carbon markets which are recently launched. Even Saudi has its own carbon market as a secondary market launch. Saudi has now a very strong budget just for ESG related initiatives. More than $2 billion are just dedicated for environmental. I highly recommend you to explore Saudi for such type of concept, because there are 3 different departments who are just there to ensure if this plastic, because they have a strong chemical industry over here, they have a strong plastic industry over here. Recycling is in the heart of their startup thing. Okay, please contact me separately. I'm going to give you those 3 institutions' name. They are really inducting and very well appreciating Pakistani startups. Okay, in this area, they really appreciate our chemical engineers, and also looking for these incubators are in Dammam and Khobar, primarily launched from there, just serving their particular industry over there. So for me, if you ask, Dubai and Saudi are a great place to start with. Dubai has its own IP office, Saudi has its own IP office, but for IP registration, I recommend you to go to Europe for such type of practice. But to launch your startup, headquartered as originally, take the route of NISA from Saudi law, and it's not going to cost much, by the way. This is a misconception. If you have a really innovative idea, if it is served through your research, they are going to give you amount and wealth to launch your startup. No other country is going to promise you, especially being Pakistani. Okay? Did I miss any other question? Wajahat startup for tour and the micro contest. No, this is not out of the context, Qasim. Tour and travel is a very complex industry. I work with the payment side of tour and travel, and it's chargeback and it's fraud and it's non-compliance, it's issues with IOTA, it's issue with the Visa and the Master. One of the most frustrating life cycle you can enjoy. It looks very easy, looks very similar. Best part is we have seen Booking.com getting launched from Dubai and then going to become a global phenomena. So, and we have seen so many startups up in this particular area from Dubai as well. So, I highly recommend you to explore Dubai in this context for when it comes to tour and travel startup. Okay, and for IP, yeah. I need to dig deep in your idea, but eventually I would love to have a dedicated session only on this subject with you because it's a very verticalized industry. It's such a big market after COVID. It is taking a little bit time in booming, but there is a complete market shift and switch in tourism and travel industry. The future of tourism and travel is in GCC particularly. Okay, you have seen new airlines getting launched over here, and they have strategic advantages, which is the oil, which is going to be almost free for them. So you have seen all next 8 years of airline booking, aeroplane booking from Boeing, Airbus are actually going from GCC. So where it is going to go? You have seen the changes of the routes from other angles to moving to UK from Jeddah, moving to UK from Dubai, from Doha, from even Bahrain. So this is a global shift. The largest airport is under development in Riyadh. So the shift of this whole industry has a lot to offer. I don't know which particular vertical of travel that you are going to focus, if it is on the operator side, if it is just the accessory side, which is often called as the loyalty side, let's say, or if it is the payment side. Depending on that, we need to discuss it further. But in principle, the traditional markets of tour and travel are no more there. You see the GCC over there, you see the Greece over there, forget about it. There is no future of tour and travel served from there just because they had the travel industry. So there will be a complete new launch. So please feel free to discuss it. Okay, we have routes. Avionics. Amazing area of avionics. It's something I'm so glad that you have brought this on the table. I work with some of the key institutions over here in Saudi, which were working on certain drone aspects as well. We would love to discuss it further. Regarding the cybersecurity, there is a serious area of IoT as well as aerospace over there. It is not my direct personal expertise and specialty, but we have a pool of advisors and mentors as well as coaches as well as investors who would love to invest in it. Few of them are American, few of them are Saudi GCC based, and recently we have seen the aspect of semiconductor impact on aviation and avionics industry. So semiconductor security led by Dr. Mauricio Vani was also emphasized recently. From here we have new initiatives which will be served and supported. I highly recommend you to also engage in upcoming launches. There is a dedicated budget only for this particular industry in Saudi as well. There are 8 emphasized areas where the new vision of Saudi is going, which is called the 2030. One of them is to be on the moon as well. Okay, please. Did I miss any question? Yes, I think. That's amazing, Sayeda. That's an amazing area. I recently saw Shark Tank India. There is a very relevant sort of a marketplace. Actually, it was invested and funded by one of the famous actors, I believe Akshay Kumar. He has invested in this beautiful organic marketplace, and their products has already been served in GCC. So sounds very relevant, and it's a great idea. It's a very needed. On the name of Desi, it is actually the organic thing which we try to position. But from intellectual property point of view, I don't know what you can bring on the table. So as a IP strategy, something to be brainstormed from security perspective. If somebody steals any organic thing or a natural thing or a basic thing, it's good for the nation, good for them as well. So let's let them steal it. Okay, so just a joke. But anyways, okay. Yeah, this is a good question, Saida. I think it's yeah. So if you are going for UAE, where exactly you should focus on? Okay, there are stages. First of all, I want to emphasize on two things. Our subject is about IP and security aspect. So UAE is a great regulated country as a overall. Whether you go to Ras Al Khaimah or Dubai or Sharjah or even Abu Dhabi, the GRC laws, GRC practices and the regulations, you will find them. In fact, they have more complication for you, which is the industrial regulation. They have a very strong, strict, rigid industrial regulation. But then they have a little ease in other states such as Sharjah, Ras Al Khaimah. But again, it is biased because of the complications to work and operate. If your idea has a support from those states, for example, you are in an area which requires maybe import and export. Yes, Sharjah has a value, Ras Al Khaimah has a value, and it is very cost effective compared to Dubai. Not cost effective compared to Pakistan. Okay, so you need to do the trade-off. So I go back to my subject again. So you will have 10 times appreciation of your IP if you register and launch yourself from UAE compared to Pakistan. Okay, I'll be very brutal and honest. But we have seen so many startups who have made amazing $1 million mark while being in Pakistan, selling to Pakistan, launched for Pakistan, right? So it is all about your consumer and customer and the user, because typically such type of marketplaces focus on we say data as a valuable asset, digital asset, and the rest of them. And security is a serious concern over there. Serious. So recently we have seen the breaches in Pakistan, but we have not seen the penalties. So those companies are not bankrupted because of the high hefty fines. But if you go to such GCC-based countries, you lose a lot of things because of your IP breach. Then you will have a series of penalties. But then there is a hope as well. If you stand a little bit, you will get a lot of fundings from there. A lot of institutions are there to support you as well. So many incubators who have real deep pockets for you to support as well. So it's a really mix and match of strategy. Hope I answered it. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, that's a very interesting area. When you say activities, are they human activities or are they very general services? In all cases, you use a great place to launch your marketplace. You will immediately get crowdfunding opportunities. You will immediately get incubators to launch yourself, verticalized incubators. You have food tech incubators, you have fintech, you have edutech. They all are very focused on that particular area. If it is a global community you're going to support and serve, I think it's a great place to launch. And it's not that costly. In fact, I highly recommend governments as well as institutions like yours to have a G2G agreement, which is probably on the table because India and UAE has already got it, to help our startups to launch themselves over there as a branch office or even as a headquarter over there. Or the government supports us to launch from there. With the blessing of it, we still serve Pakistan, but we will have a tremendous G2G cooperation and collaboration. And soon I see this is going to happen. The influx of startups going over there in their personal capacity will motivate both governments to actually collaborate on industry to industry level. Yeah, as I said, your idea has a specific verticals to focus, so there are dedicated VCs. The beauty of the UAE market right now is that the VCs are still investing, although it's a dry run going on, but they are highly focusing on very specialized investment strategy. So they are consistently, they are not harmonized or generalized, okay? They are just investing in one type of startup. If it is an angel investor who is just investing in fintechs, they will keep investing in it, so that at least one of them, because they also bring a lot of value for you from knowledge, context, connections perspective. So if you have a pitch deck ready, do share with us. We have this tremendous team who match with you, and they take a little amount of fee in this one. I think Startup Coworks has this service available for you. Yeah. So right now, from Pakistan perspective, when you see top 10, right? But as I said, there are more than 700 registered incubators and VCs and GCC which are quite active. 700. Okay, so this is a big number, and all of them have something to offer you. And so it's a really a complete exercise to do to matchmake. I hope I answered it. Please feel free to ask me. I still have at least 20 more minutes for you. I'm here for you. By the way, I just want to say thank you to Sarah and your team. It's an amazing gathering. It's an amazing session. I really cannot thank you more and emphasize that you people are doing a tremendous job. And I really look forward to be part of your caravan in all roles and any capacity wherever you feel. And I'm also thankful to Startup Coworks giving us this opportunity to be in front of you. Please, I think I have shared my LinkedIn profile. If not, let me just share my LinkedIn profile with you right now. Okay. I'm sure that Sarah and their team are going to introduce me to all of you.